We here at Team TripleJump are big fans of tactics. They're minty fresh and come in a convenient container that fits right in your pocket. Oh, hold on. I've accidentally googled Tic Tacs. Give me a minute. We here at TripleJump love tactical strategy games. Whether we're controlling a squad of specialists in grid-based combat or commanding platoons of grunts over vast battlefields, we enjoy the opportunity to test our long-term planning skills and our thinking muscles. There are plenty of stellar strategic games out there to challenge the smarts of the armchair generals among us. But in this video, we're specifically looking at those that are offshoots from already established franchises. Taking a game of another genre and giving it a tactical spin-off is like taking the player out of the action and suspending them above it all. Looking down with godlike prescience as lives are put in the balance. Will you become invested in the fate of every one of your valuable soldiers, or will you see them only as expendable tools to achieve victory? The only way to find out is to take command. I'm Ashton from TripleJump, and here are 10 tactical strategy spin-offs from popular video game series. Number 10, Gears Tactics, Gears of War. Known for its visceral action, chunky characters, and over-the-top set pieces, the Gears of War franchise is one of the pinnacles of the third-person shooter genre. Debuting in 2006, the series has been one of the mainstays of the Xbox brand. One particular game in the Gears of War series hit the PC first though, and appropriately enough for this list, it's the tactical strategy one. Gears Tactics changed the pace of the franchise's trademark action and presented the battlefield from a top-down perspective, while keeping the cinematic style of its parent series. This resulted in a highly polished tactical experience, where all the familiar weapons and enemies provided new options and challenges for would-be generals to enjoy. The game is also seemingly designed to discourage the common strategy game approach of sitting around and drawing the enemy in, picking them off on your terms. Nope, try to sit in one place in this game and prepare to be targeted with cover-ignoring rockets, have your position swamped by low-level grunts, or have your retreat cut off by devastating nemesis mortars. That's right, you've got to keep moving in this game, kind of like Gears. Oh wow, it all makes sense now. Number 9, Shin Megami Tensei, Devil Survivor, Shin Megami Tensei. The Shin Megami Tensei series is no stranger to spin-offs. One of its spin-offs is more successful than the entity from which it spun off, and many of its spin-offs have spin-offs of their own. Whether you're interested in abstract fantasy epics, retro-style science fiction, supernatural high school mysteries, or busting spectacular moves on the dance floor, Shin Megami Tensei has something for you. Unsurprisingly then, you'll find a nice bit of tactical strategy in amongst all that spin-offery. Shin Megami Tensei Devil Survivor was originally released for the Nintendo DS in 2009, and put a tactical spin on the series' role-playing style while maintaining its unique atmosphere and demon summoning action. Set in a modern-day Tokyo that's been quarantined due to a demon outbreak, the player takes control of a party of hapless youngsters who are somehow able to summon and control said demons. Over the course of the game, a deep and multi-layered story unfolds, with the party growing from demon-haunted noobs who have no idea what's going on, to powerful supernatural summoners wielding terrific powers. In 2011, a demonic sequel was summoned, and then both games received souped-up re-releases for the 3DS. We've seen nothing from Devil Survivor since though, unfortunately. Maybe it's time to have a look at that, Atlas. Number 8, Pokemon Conquest, Pokemon. The Pokemon franchise has seen its fair share of spin-offs over the years, but the one that merges the critter battling franchise with Koei's historic grand strategy series, Nobunaga's Ambition, has to rank as the strangest of all. In Pokemon Conquest, players are tasked with uniting the 17 kingdoms of the Ransei region in a bid to bring peace to a war-torn land and encounter the legendary creator Pokemon Arceus. Instead of gaining experience for their pocket monsters, players must have them forge links to their warlord companions, boosting their stats on the battlefield. Warlords can also grow stronger through linking, and can even evolve should certain conditions be met. Each warlord will also have one or more Pokemon that he or she works especially well with. This spooky goth guy, for example, likes ghost types such as Duskull. Who'd have thought? Interestingly, the game's human characters are based on real-life figures from Japan's history, which pulls the game's two universes together nicely. However, no matter how much I dig through the encyclopedias at my local library, I can find no mention of legendary Japanese historic figure, Oda Nobunaga, being accompanied into battle by a Zekrom. Shame. Number 7, Halo Wars, Halo. Some of the best moments in the Halo franchise are when you're taking the fight to the Covenant enemy backed up by a few squads of Marines. The thrill, the camaraderie, the fact that if you're playing on Legendary, those hapless chumps aren't going to make it 30 seconds. It all adds to the feeling that you're part of something bigger than the chief alone. A full-blown military operation. Someone at Microsoft must have had the same thought, because back in 2009, Halo Wars was released. Developed by the now-defunct Ensemble Studios, previously responsible for the Age of Empires games, Halo Wars features all the cinematic action and colourful sci-fi techno-babble you'd expect from the series, but in real-time strategy form. Players were removed from the safety of Master Chief's rigid helmet and suspended above the action instead, delivering orders and building bases as epic confrontations played out down below. Built from the ground up to suit console gaming, Halo Wars made great strides in making the RTS genre properly viable for console-using players by implementing intuitive input methods, whilst also providing extra world building for franchise fans. Shame there was no Covenant campaign though. It would have been nice to be on the other end of those deadly spheres of luminous plasma for once. Number 6. R-Type Tactics. R-Type. Irem's R-Type series was a big deal back in the day. One of the foremost side-scrolling shooter franchises, R-Type was common in arcades and ported to most home systems, with the series enduring to this day. Back in 2007, however, Sony's PSP saw the release of a more thoughtful entry into the previously action-focused series, with R-Type Tactics. Known in America as R-Type Command, the game features 2 campaigns. The first puts the player in the shoes of a newly commissioned Space Corps commander, whereas the second follows the exploits of the same commander after being absorbed into the alien race known as the Bido. R-Type Tactics upholds the side-scrolling traditions of the series, presenting the turn-based battles in a side-on view that keeps the series' identity. Units are moved around hexagonal spaces, and players can choose from a range of ships with attacking and supporting roles. Unfortunately, the game's sequel never made it out of Japan. This is a real shame, not only because it would have been real nice for Western fans to continue the saga, but also because the sequel's subtitle, Operation Bitter Chocolate, has us all kinds of intrigued. What does it mean? Are the Bido sapping Earth's morale by making all of our chocolate taste bitter? What will they think of next? Number 5. Rockman Strategy. Mega Man. Here's one that you might not have known about, because according to our research, this particular piece of tactical action was released only in Taiwan. The Mega Man franchise is one of gaming's oldest and most beloved mainstays, known for its cutesy style, extremely tight gameplay, and unabashed trickiness. The game tends to feature the titular cyborg as he negotiates scrolling 2D environments filled with traps, dangers, and devious enemies. Rockman Strategy, using Mega Man's original name, presents the action from an isometric viewpoint and allows the player to control the titular hero and his allies in turn-based strategic battles. The story of the game concerns Dr. Wily's robot masters being deployed all around the world to undertake various nefarious deeds. And the player has a chance of recruiting these robot masters to his or her own forces by showing them mercy on the battlefield. The game has an odd visual style, with the faux 3D characters looking almost toy-like when viewed from above, and then changing up to take on the appearance of a 2D fighting game when characters attack each other, though the latter is non-interactive. Don't expect to be actually controlling their attacks. This is a tactical game, remember? We'll have none of your button mashing here. Number 4. Dynasty Tactics. Dynasty Warriors. Speaking of button mashing, have you ever played Dynasty Warriors? This hack-and-slash series is famous for its battlefields filled with hapless grunts for players to smash through on their way to victory. The franchise has a legion of fans whose numbers exceed those of the hordes of soldiers seen in the games. And among the many Dynasty Warriors spin-offs, you can find crossovers with the likes of Gundam, Persona, and The Legend of Zelda. In 2002, Dynasty Tactics was released for the PlayStation 2, and offered players a chance to unite the lands of ancient China from a more civilized distance. This strategic spin-off visualizes the epic and violent clashes by depicting animated pieces moving around a map, with each piece representing massive armies rather than just a single soldier. It's strategy on a large scale, as is befitting the series. Further exemplifying the grand scale is the fact that each turn represents a full day of warfare, with battles lasting up to 30 days, giving the impression that the players are overseeing epic multi-week spanning confrontations. Despite getting a decent reaction, Dynasty Tactics didn't sell well, and won GameSpot's 2002 Best Game No One Played award. Looks like Dynasty Warriors fans just want to get stuck in and mash some buttons after all then. Sorry Dynasty Tactics developers, but I came here to fight, not to think. Number 3. Fallout Tactics. Brotherhood of Steel. Fallout. Before the world's foremost post-apocalyptic series was scooped up by Bethesda, a tactical offshoot was attempted by Australian developer called Microforte. Not to be confused with the early console dalliance, Fallout Brotherhood of Steel, Fallout Tactics Brotherhood of Steel was released in 2001, after Fallout 2 and before the aforementioned console action RPG. The gameplay falls somewhere between the previous Fallout games and the likes of XCOM, and gives players the ability to choose between 3 combat modes, 2 turn-based and 1 real-time. The player is responsible for a group of customizable specialists, and the story follows a Brotherhood of Steel splinter group's exploits in the areas around Chicago. The focus of the gameplay is on the combat, removing the exploration and NPC interaction aspects that the series were previously known for. Despite all this, the game definitely maintains the feel of the previous top-down Fallout games, portraying a gritty atmosphere and brutal, merciless clashes in an unforgiving world. Despite being so true to the franchise and receiving a good critical reception, when Bethesda acquired the rights to the Fallout universe, they deemed the game non-canon, with only vague and dismissive references to a Fallout Tactics story in subsequent games. A devastating snub, I'm sure you'll agree. Number 2, Final Fantasy Tactics, Final Fantasy. Not only is Final Fantasy Tactics a tactical spin-off from the renowned Final Fantasy RPG series, it's also one of the most influential examples of the genre to date. Though the likes of Fire Emblem, Tactics Ogre and Shining Force have already blazed the trail for grid-based tactical JRPGs, 1997's Final Fantasy Tactics introduced many tropes that would define the genre's future. Initially released on PlayStation 1 before receiving an enhanced port for PSP, the game featured a fantasy political tone and told a riveting and twist-filled story of political intrigue in the world of Ivalice. The battles were often very challenging, meaning that players had to know the abilities and limitations of their troops well, or risk being caught out, becoming surrounded, or having a pivotal healing character picked off due to careless placement. It really got you thinking, this one. The game received 2 follow-ups, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance on Game Boy Advance, and Final Fantasy Tactics A2, Grimoire of the Rift on Nintendo DS. Both games maintained the original game's quality and Ivalice setting, but lightened the tone slightly and implemented laws, arbitrary rules added to certain battles that were intended to change up the gameplay. Also, all the main characters are now children. They're still really good games though, I swear. And number 1, Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, Mario and Raving Rabbids. 2 franchises spinning off into one? That sounds like a wildcard entry to me. When the worlds of Nintendo's mustachioed superstar and Ubisoft's manic rabbit alien things came together, gamers probably expected some kind of platformer or party game. What we weren't expecting, however, was a squad-based tactical strategy title in the vein of XCOM. Incredibly though, that's what we got. When the 2 game development behemoths came together to plan Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, they opted to take the road less travelled, and pit Mario, some familiar friends, and a few allied Rabbids against the invading bunny horde. The battlefields are divided into grids, the action is turn-based, and variety is added with different mission types and wacky gimmicks, such as warp pipes and ink blocks. Despite its bright and cheery exterior, it's still strange to see Mario, Luigi and friends slide into cover and engage in counterattack, suppressive fire, and other such devastating battle tactics, while equipped with wacky, colourful equivalents of sniper rifles and rocket launchers. Is it harmful to be introducing our children to the minutiae of tactical combat, hidden behind such a harmless and captivating veneer? Are we really doing the right thing? I just don't know. Anyway, anyone want a mint? I bought a lot of Tic Tacs.